drug user awareness, to talk about how to use Narcan, to do that kind of education on the street for people, to make sure that they have it available. These folks are our neighbors, they're our community members, they're our families. Folks who start out for any given reason, and there are countless different reasons why people end up living outside, but it's part of the community and the culture. If they didn't start out using substances, they end up using substances. If they've stayed outside for any length of time, they will end up with medical conditions. The cost that it ends up creating for the community, for people to be in and out of the emergency room.
This has been a Rainier Avenue radio message on fentanyl in our communities.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio Traffic Update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. And remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio Traffic Update.
Edwards, the host of Seniors Matter. We are here every Friday at 12:30 p.m. on www.rainieravenueradio.world. We're South Seattle Community Radio Station. You can also listen to us on YouTube, and of course on the Rainier Avenue Radio app. You guys, I've been off for a little bit, so I'm a little tongue-tied. We feature interviews with people that provide services or have valuable information for seniors, their families, and the community. Do you need financial documents notarized? Are you a person that needs documents read to you for clarity or completion? Please give me a call at Black Orchid Notary, 206-683-2636. Tell me where, I'll meet you there. My guest today is Reverend Dr. Shirley Lytle. She's a licensed mental health counselor and founder of Living with Purpose Counseling. Her practice services couples, families, and individuals. And of course, she is a minister. Welcome to the show, Reverend Lytle. How are you?
I am just fine. It's fantastic. It's great to be here. It's great to be on a radio station that is really trying to help the community. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you for the comment. I do the best I can because I love the community and there's so much they don't know about resources that are available to them. And that's why I'm always asking folks to come on that have something that they need to share. So let's start with, what are the challenges Black people have with seeking out a counselor?
Well, many of them it's actually the very first time they've actually engaged with the counseling community. Most of us were not raised to say, hey, let's go reach out to someone to get some help, right? We're supposed to either go to the church, go to the barbershop, go to the beauty salon to get our, our anxiety fix or our depression regulated, and we never actually even called it those names, right? And so my goal in going into the counseling field, the therapist field, was to introduce our people of color, our Black people, to the concept of counseling and how it can actually be a benefit for them.
Oh, absolutely. I know I've gone to counseling before, and it was a little, not intimidating, but the one thing that I didn't do, and should I seek counseling again, I will go to an African-American counselor.
Right. I do know that there is a that there's a shortage of us out there. I do know that. However, I realize that as more of us, more Black people, especially not just women, but men, because Black men need to be in counseling as well, is that the more of us that show up, the more, our people feel confident in going to speak to someone, because culture does matter. I don't care what anybody says about it. Having someone that's culturally aware of what I'm dealing with is huge. And of course, the reason why that's also helpful is because there is history about how people of color were used in experiments, and why, as a generation, we've passed that trauma, is a better word of it, that trauma of
Yes.
going to see a counselor. Oh, they're going to try and think I'm crazy. Oh, they're going to get us locked up. I'm going to lose my job. My company's going to find out. And so we're trying to normalize how important it is to seek a counselor. It actually
Absolutely.
is our secret weapon if we could just step into it.
Yes, this is so true. So, what are some of the ways we can stay connected physically during the summer season? Because, people are going left and right and all over the place.
Yeah. So one of the suggestions I start making is, how are you connecting with your friend groups, right? And if you haven't found either a friend group or a community, that's why church is so important, right?
Yes.
That's why church is so important, because we usually get our connections from going to church. And so if you can stay connected that way, trying to find ways where you can get connected to not just social connections, but also like you can get in a bike club. For me, I'm in a run club. Yes,
Oh, okay.
at almost 64, I'm running.
Good
I
for you.
would have never thought that would be something I'd want to do in my life, but I am doing that. No, I am. Hey, I'm a boxer, so I box twice a
I
week.
know, that's right. Oh, tell
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your boxing, because when I first heard that, I just went, "What?"
So I've been boxing now for the last 5 years. The my coach is his name is Howie, and he has a great program where not only are you learning just the process of how you box, the technique, but I actually spar. So I put the whole helmet on. I'm
Okay.
sparring with him because I want to. At first, it was about how I learn how to move my body, right, in a way that's different. That's what I wanted, because basically I've lived in the gym. So I'm that person that goes to the gym every day. That's also one of my social groups of staying physically connected to people. And then I wanted to do something else. So for the last, don't count COVID, obviously, because I was boxing in my garage, but I've actually accelerated my process of boxing. So learning techniques, how to block, how to move, how to get out of the way. So believe it or not, that's a way for you to keep your body, moving and being limber, right? Even
Right.
as we age,
Yes, absolutely.
we actually feel younger when we're working out. Believe it or not, we actually feel younger. And I know, Sister Brenda, you were sitting there going, now, how in this world is this woman really boxing? That's why I post my boxing workouts, because I want people to say, no, Reverend Shirley really is trying to hit that boy for real, for real. So it's a good thing. It's a good
I
thing.
love it. I think it's great.
My husband says that now I'm his bodyguard, right? I'm his bodyguard. There you go. So but I can tell you that another way that you can physically stay, healthy during the summer is find ways to regulate the pressure in your life. So just because summer comes and everybody's going on vacation, not everybody is, for a better word, of leaving the state.
Right.
So they've got to find ways to still work, still take care of their kids. Now, matter of fact, some of the clients I work with, they're even more stressed in the summer because their children don't have these organized ways of, being at school. So now they're in summer camps that, believe it or not, are not completely all day, and so they're trying to make ends meet where they're paying for summer camp and they're still going to work, and they might, out of the entire summer, only get a week off. So it's helpful for you to try to manage the pressure in your life. One of those ways is meditation. The other one is reading your Bible. The other one is, like I said, I get a lot of anxiety out boxing. I really am going to tell y'all to try to figure out how to put some gloves on. But those are just ways that you regulate your nervous system, right? I'm just saying. The reality is, yes, we're not of this world as it relates to being believers, but we are in this world, and we have to manage our stress, that pressure that constantly is coming up, in our lives. So,
So you mentioned spiritual. So my next thing is, what does it mean to be spiritually stable?
so I when you ask the question, the first thing that comes to mind is to recognize that you've got a body, you possess a soul, but your real nature is your spirit, right? So what we feed is what grows. So when you are considering how to deepen your spiritual gauge, how to stabilize it, we're aware that we're going to come up against resistance. We're going to come up against the issues that are in our lives that can cause anxiety, cause depression. We may feel overwhelmed by those because, oh my goodness, but I'm a believer. Why am I having all of these challenges? Well, that's because our body can react to the things that are going on in this world. I can't control everything in my environment, but I can control how I see it. And so spiritual stability says I look for those things that can redirect me to what my real nature is. That I know that God is in control. I realize that there things are being allowed to happen in our world right now, and how can I be a stabilizing force within our groups sometimes. I mean, think about all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. We may need to apply grace and mercy to our situation, because when you think about some of the topics, or some of the things that are going away, and some of the programs that are going away, right, that can really make you depressed, right? And depression says I don't have any options in this situation. Likewise, anxiety says, oh my gosh, I can't control what's going on in my world. And so imagine that you've got these things, these feelings of depression, or depressed mood, or anxiousness, right? That if you can begin to feed your spirit those things that will remind you who you are and whose you are in Christ, that we can begin to say, but I know that God's in control of this situation. That's stability, right? We stand on the foundation of who we are and whose we are. If that,
Do
if
you
you're
think
tracking.
too that when some of this, yeah, do you think that when some of this happens, it's sort of, I don't want to say a test, but making us check in with him?
Yes,
Learning
because
lessons.
I I absolutely agree with that. I think that there's times where we can be so worldly focused that we are not spiritually grounded, right?
Right.
Because these things are coming to us, they're happening to us. Uh, and yet, keep reading the Bible. There was all kind of crazy stuff that was happening in the Bible, and yet they believed, right?
Right.
And yet they believed, and they had a trust and a faith that we know that God is in control. We know that He is the one that's gone before us to make this path straight for us, and that our journey what isn't supposed to be easy. Now, that doesn't mean that we look for the difficult people. I mean, come on now. But
Yes,
it
right.
does say that we shouldn't necessarily be surprised uh, that we're having these challenges, right? I wouldn't be surprised about it at all.
Right.
So, if something comes up, let me know, because I can talk about this all day. We find ourselves in these situations where we say we shouldn't have depression. We have Jesus. We shouldn't have anxiety. We have Jesus. And I'm like, but see, we are still a physical body.
That's it.
Living in a world with a bunch of challenges, one we
Yes.
can't control, and sometimes we don't have options. And then we have the challenges that happen within the church that I have no options with and I have no control. Right.
Right.
So those are all things. Let's just be transparent. Those are all things that can really mess with your spirit. And we will often say, Lord, why are we still struggling?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because as we established our stability, we begin to recognize that those things are going to happen in our lives. Everybody's not going to like me. I've resolved. If there's nothing else that I teach 30 and 40-year-old young people, you are not going to be liked all the time. Everybody's not going to like you. Matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, the gift you have in you will make other people itch. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to cause them to think a certain way and behave a certain way. Right. And
Yes.
so I believe that stability, learning what it to be spiritually stable, says that you place some affirmations about what you believe, who God is in your life. Like, I believe he is the beginning and the end. I believe that I'm called to do something special in this world, that my gift is making room for me. It may not necessarily be in the rooms that I expected, but the Lord is definitely showing me that my gift is making room. And bless you, you're a validation, Sister Brenda, of how I know that God has placed me in this time and in this season to do what he has called me to do, what he has equipped me to do, what he has put me through various educational experiences to be in this place and in this time. And so I'm going to help my people in the
Thank
church and in the world,
Yes, absolutely. If you're
right?
just tuning in, you're listening live to Seniors Matter with your host, Brenda Charles Edwards, on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your South Seattle community radio station. We're here on Fridays at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do you know what's the best legacy we can give ourselves and our loved ones? Join me on Zoom or in person for a group or individual session on legacy end-of-life planning. You may contact me at 206-683-2636. Now back to my guest, Reverend Dr. Shirley Lytle, founder of Living with Purpose Counseling, LLC. So, what does it mean to be emotionally balanced?
Now, we have all seen people that have been a little special and looked at them sideways and went, clearly she did not take or he did not take his medication today.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've learned to meet people where they are,
That's
because when
key.
it's easy to see the emotional instability. But even when you see someone that is managing themselves, you have no idea what they're going through. And it
Right.
amazes me when we have individuals that are, for a better word of it, demanding their way. I mean, we've all talked about the narcissistic way people are now showing up and demanding that, their way is the right way. But being
Right.
emotionally balanced says that you step back and you assess, what do you need in this moment and in this time, right? So
Right.
you may need to leave the meeting. Say you need to go to the restroom because you are about to be emotionally imbalanced, right?
Get that primal scream out.
Absolutely, absolutely. That we talk about that reptilian brain in the counseling world, and how we just react. We go into fight, flee, or freeze. And the
Right.
last thing you want for a boxer like me is to go in fight mode, because most people, when they go in fight mode, they get really analytical, they get very detailed, and they lack the ability to have empathy. So
Mm.
an emotionally balanced person will step back and actually say, okay, is this person even worth me having some type of conversation with? Like, is it worth it? So yeah, they honked at you uh, because you cut them off, and it wasn't on purpose. God bless them and keep it going,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Identify, ban, or minimize toxic people in your life. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I say ban because if they are not a family member, If they're not a family member, you can ban them, right? Because we all got God's special
Special family
children.
members.
Yeah, right. See, I call them God's special children. But anyway, we're going to leave that alone. But I do call them God's special children because they're a little special.
Yes.
But you got to ban or minimize toxic people. And those are people that can so disrupt your spirit, not challenging. We want people to challenge us. You want individuals that you've given permission to speak into your life, right? That will say, hey, you could have done that a little different, Reverend Shirley. And the higher I go or the wider God casts my net, I want those individuals in my life because they speak to, they know where where I'm going, where God is leading me, and they are aware of my strengths and their weaknesses and my weaknesses. So that the devil doesn't take advantage of me.
Right.
But when you're dealing with toxic people now, you're going to have to regulate just how much tolerance that you can have for those individuals. So you may have to minimize, Uncle Willie or Aunt Susie who get on your last nerve because they're constantly criticizing you, making judgment calls about you, right? The other way, you've got to manage your time or your time will manage you.
Well said.
We were speaking a moment ago about, my boxing and my working out. A non-negotiable for me is that I will not schedule clients during my workout time.
Oh, good. Very
So
good.
I have scoped out a specific hour and a half. Yes, that's me. That you don't have to do that. But I work out about an hour and a half every day. I'm not giving that time up. So if the only reason why I miss workout is I must be really, really sick. And my husband is sitting on me that I don't get up and put my workout clothes on and go do something. No joke. I want to say, like, the third thing to remember is focus on the things that you can change. You, having the dialogue with individuals that are really not interested in learning about who you are and what you're about and why you make decisions, and working to collaborate with you, you're wasting your time. And matter of fact, they don't necessarily need to be toxic, but they may not be for you. So focus on the things you can't change. Only God can change the heart of man.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So if you want to have a dialogue, if you want to enrich, how I grow through this world, I want to have a conversation with you. But if all you're going to do is badmouth me, talk about how things aren't working for you as it relates to me, then maybe you may need to distance yourself from that stuff. Yeah. So now you know why people love to have a conversation with me, because I have comedy in the middle of pain. Going to see a counselor is not always easy.
No.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But it is worthwhile.
Yes.
It is worthwhile.
I agree. And it's amazing. So what would you say that your focus area is?
So I work with individuals dealing with anxiety. I deal with individuals that are dealing with depression, ADHD, right? And then I do couple work. So half of my practice is anxiety and depression. The other half is couples work, from premarital counseling, right? So I do marry individuals to decoupling.
Wait. Do people still come for premarital counseling?
Yes.
Wow.
And for those out there that sit there and say that premarital counseling is a waste of time, what they're doing is trying to poo-poo away, I will say, the glaring red flags that are in their relationship that they need to address. Now, what I do tell people is, if you're going into premarital counseling just as a technicality, for example, I'll have someone that'll back up 3 weeks before their marriage. They've already spent $40,000 on a wedding. They spent more time and energy on the wedding than they did preparing for the marriage, right? Well, then really, what do you want to know in premarital counseling? Premarital counseling should be a lifelong journey that says, hey, I'm committed to walking in this world with this individual. And so maybe I even go just a couples counseling that may turn into premarital counseling, right? Because premarital counseling says, hey, this is what you come with. This is what the other individuals coming with. And are you good with it if they never change a thing? In other words, how self-aware are you about you and about what you're about to yoke yourself up with? Yes. So knowing that information is paramount to
Yes, it
healthy
is.
marriages.
Yeah, and I think more people should do it. That way there would be less divorces or
I do.
Women receiving abuse because they're in an abusive relationship. They probably were in an abusive relationship before they married the person.
Absolutely.
And
let me give you a case example of that because it's very, very important. When I talk about individuals that are, like I said, premarital to decoupling where they're getting a divorce, right? So I'm helping some individuals. I've helped people move forward in their marriages, and I've helped people move through their divorces, right? And often that individual that was experiencing some type of domestic violence, they were experiencing it before they got married, before they said I do.
Right.
Making the assumption that once they got married, he would stop, because majority of a domestic violence actually is 80% is men. But that doesn't mean that it also doesn't happen with men as well.
Right.
And so it's heartbreaking to sit here when, let's say you're in your second marriage, you're coming to premarital counseling now. And I say, hey, what did you learn about yourself in your last relationship? Yeah. And she'll go, oh, my husband was physically abusive to me. And so then I ask her again. So what did you learn about yourself in that situation? Right? Because if I pass the problem onto my ex, I don't learn about what I should have done in that situation. That maybe I needed to be more empowered, that maybe I needed to increase my self-worth before I yoke with somebody that potentially you can't submit to. That's a whole nother topic, child, about the submission. Anyway.
I know. And you know what? We're out of time, and I want to make sure people know how to get hold of you. So
Yes,
can you tell them your contact information, please?
Yes. So you can go to www.lwpc-wa.com, and you'll see my entire website. You can also look on Psychology Today, which is what I love many people to do. It shows you that we've been screened and validated through the Psychology Today, that we've got our licenses, that we're in good standing, and that's Living with Purpose Counseling, LLC. Or you can just look up Shirley Lytle, Lytle, and I will pop up, and all my information will be there as well.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Shirley. This was great. I'm glad that we were able to put this together, and you gave a lot of good points. And yes, folks, please go see a counselor if you're having any type of doubts. And just one quick thing on ADHD?
Yeah, attention deficit.
I just want to say that's not always a negative. Because
Correct.
I had an experience with a doctor. I won't say what type he is, in case somebody that might know him. But my doctor referred me to him, and she said he was ADHD. And I went and talked to him. My husband went and talked to him. And I said, oh, this is wonderful, because he'll be focused on my situation.
Absolutely. It is that laser focus, just like highly functioning autistic people. We need to stop minimizing folks and defining them by their challenges instead of how successful they are.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely correct.
Thank you to my listening and viewing audience. This has been Reverend Dr. Shirley Lytle, founder of Living with Purpose Counseling, LLC. A special thank you to Robert D. Bassett Jr. with Delano C. Baychester, LLC, for the use of his music, Ragtime. Have a great weekend, be safe, and live your life like it's golden. Talk to you later, Reverend Doctor. Thank you.
No problem, love. Take care. Bye.